The Quran transcends being merely a religious text. It serves as a comprehensive guide for millions of Muslims globally. This book endeavors to provide an in-depth exploration of the Quran, examining its teachings, historical context, and the life of the Prophet Muhammad. Through a thorough analysis of its chapters, verses, and overarching themes, we aim to offer readers a deeper understanding of the Quran's profound message and enduring significance. Join us as we embark on this enlightening journey to uncover the wisdom and guidance encapsulated within the Quran. Let's start this journey. Chapter 1: The Dawn of Revelation. 1.1 The Pre-Islamic Arabian Peninsula. Before the birth of Islam, the Arabian Peninsula was a region marked by stark contrasts and complex social structures. The majority of the inhabitants were Bedouins, nomadic tribes who traversed the harsh desert landscape. Their lives were dictated by the rhythms of the seasons and the availability of water and grazing lands for their herds of camels, goats, and sheep. The tribal system was the cornerstone of their social organization, providing security and identity. Loyalty to one's tribe was paramount, often leading to fierce rivalries and intertribal conflicts. Geography and climate. The Arabian Peninsula's geography played a crucial role in shaping its inhabitants' lifestyles. The region is predominantly desert, with the vast Rub al-Khali, empty quarter, being one of the largest sand deserts in the world. Oasis towns, such as those in Yathrib, Medina, and Taif, provided respite from the arid landscape, allowing for agriculture and permanent settlements. Mecca, situated in a narrow, barren valley, was a significant trade hub, despite its lack of natural resources due to its location on the caravan routes that connected Yemen to the Levant and beyond. Economic and social life. Mecca's economy thrived on trade, with caravans transporting goods such as spices, incense, silk, and other luxury items from as far as India and China to the Mediterranean markets. This trade brought considerable wealth to the city and its leading families, particularly the Quraysh tribe, who were custodians of the Kaaba, an ancient sanctuary revered by the various tribes of Arabia. The Kaaba housed numerous idols representing the gods and goddesses worshipped by the different tribes, making Mecca a central place of pilgrimage and commerce. Socially, pre-Islamic Arabia was characterized by tribal affiliations and a code of honor that dictated conduct. The tribal chiefs, sheikhs, wielded significant authority, and tribal loyalty often overshadowed broader societal concerns. Blood feuds and vendettas were common, perpetuated by the principle of retaliation, an eye for an eye. Women and children were often considered property, and practices such as female infanticide were tragically prevalent. Religious landscape. The religious landscape of pre-Islamic Arabia was diverse yet predominantly polytheistic. Each tribe had its own deities, with the Quraysh tribe, who controlled Mecca, worshipping Allah along with numerous lesser gods and goddesses. The Kaaba itself contained over 360 idols, each representing different deities revered by various tribes. The most prominent deities included Hubal, Allat, Al-Uzza, and Manat. In addition to polytheism, there were also pockets of monotheistic beliefs. Judaism and Christianity had made inroads into the region, particularly in the southern parts of the peninsula, such as Yemen, where Jewish communities had established themselves, and in the north, where Christian tribes existed. Zoroastrianism, the dominant religion of the nearby Persian Empire, also had some followers. Moreover, a small group of monotheists known as the Hanifs rejected idol worship and followed a vague form of Abrahamic monotheism. 1.2 The Early Life of Muhammad. Early childhood and loss. Muhammad ibn Abdullah was born in 570 CE, a year known as the Year of the Elephant, due to the failed invasion of Mecca by the Abyssinian ruler Abraha, who had marched upon the city with an army that included elephants. Muhammad's birth occurred within the influential but economically modest Hashim clan of the Quraysh tribe. His father, Abdullah, died before his birth, and his mother, Amina, passed away when he was only 6 years old. Orphaned at such a young age, Muhammad was first placed under the care of his grandfather, Abdul Muttalib, a respected elder of Mecca. After Abdul Muttalib's death 2 years later, Muhammad's uncle, Abu Talib, assumed responsibility for him. Adolescence and reputation. Growing up in the household of Abu Talib, Muhammad was exposed to the intricacies of trade and commerce, accompanying his uncle on trading journeys to Syria. These travels not only broadened his horizons, but also gave him first-hand experience in the business world. Despite the early hardships, Muhammad developed a reputation for his honesty, integrity, and trustworthiness. He became known as Al-Amin, a testament to his character and the high regard in which he was held by the people of Mecca. Marriage to Khadija. At the age of 25, Muhammad entered the service of Khadija bint Khuwaylid, a wealthy widow and successful businesswoman who entrusted him with the management of her trading caravans. Impressed by his diligence and honesty, Khadija proposed marriage to Muhammad despite the significant age difference. Khadija was 40 years old. The marriage was a harmonious and supportive union that lasted for 25 years. Khadija's support and encouragement were instrumental during the early years of Muhammad's prophethood, providing him with emotional and financial stability. Contemplative nature. Muhammad's contemplative nature and his dissatisfaction with the moral decay and social injustices of Meccan society led him to seek solitude in the cave of Hijra, located in the mountains surrounding Mecca. Here, he spent long periods in meditation and reflection, pondering the state of his people and the mysteries of the universe. This spiritual inclination set the stage for the momentous event that would change his life and the course of history. 1.3. The First Revelation. The Encounter with Gabriel. In the year 610 CE, during one of his retreats in the cave of Hira, Muhammad experienced a profound and life-altering event. As he meditated, the angel Gabriel appeared before him, commanding him to read or recite Iqra. Muhammad, who was unlettered and had never been taught to read or write, responded with confusion and fear, insisting that he could not read. The angel embraced him tightly and repeated the command twice more before revealing the first verses of what would become the Quran. Read in the name of your Lord who created man from a clinging substance. Read, and your Lord is the most generous, who taught by the pen, taught man that which he knew not. Overwhelmed and terrified by this extraordinary experience, Muhammad rushed home to Khadija, seeking comfort and reassurance. Khadija consoled him and took him to her cousin Waraka ibn Nawfal, a learned Christian who had knowledge of the scriptures. Waraka confirmed that Muhammad had been chosen as a prophet, similar to Moses and other prophets before him, and that the being he encountered was indeed Gabriel. The initial phase of prophethood. The initial phase of Muhammad's prophethood was marked by a period of introspection and private reflection. He received no further revelations for some time, a period known as the Fatra, which caused him great distress. However, the revelation resumed, reaffirming his role as a messenger of God. Encouraged by Khadija and supported by his close family and friends, Muhammad began to share the message of Islam discreetly. The first converts. The first converts to Islam were from Muhammad's immediate circle, individuals who had witnessed his integrity and were moved by the divine message. Khadija was the first to embrace Islam, followed by Ali ibn Abi Talib. Muhammad's young cousin who had been living with him. Abu Bakr, a close friend and respected merchant, also accepted the new faith and played a crucial role in spreading the message. Others, such as Zayd ibn Haritha, a freed slave, and Uthman ibn Affan, a wealthy merchant, were among the early believers who formed the nascent Muslim community. The secrecy of the early da'wah. For the first 3 years, Muhammad's mission remained largely secret. The early Muslims gathered in private homes to pray and learn about the new faith, avoiding the public eye to escape persecution. The Quranic revelations during this period focused on the fundamental tenets of Islam, the oneness of God, Tawheed, the Day of Judgment, and the moral and ethical responsibilities of individuals. These teachings challenged the prevailing social norms and the deeply entrenched polytheistic practices of Mecca. The call to public preaching. In 613 CE, Muhammad received the divine command to begin preaching publicly. He invited his extended family to a feast where he openly declared his prophethood and called them to worship the one true God. This public declaration marked a significant turning point in Muhammad's mission, bringing him into direct conflict with the Quraysh and the Meccan elite. Initial public reaction. The public reaction to Muhammad's message was mixed. While some were intrigued by the call to monotheism and the promise of social justice, many of the Quraysh leaders viewed it as a direct threat to their power and economic interests. The Kaaba, with its numerous idols, was a major source of income, attracting pilgrims and traders from across Arabia. The message of Islam, which denounced idol worship, was seen as a challenge to the status quo. Persecution and hostility. As the number of converts grew, so did the hostility of the Quraysh. They employed various tactics to dissuade people from embracing Islam. The early Muslims, particularly those from weaker tribes and lower social standings, faced severe persecution. Bilal ibn Rabah, an Abyssinian slave, was subjected to brutal torture for refusing to renounce his faith. But his steadfastness and the defiant cry of Ahad, Ahad, One, One, became a symbol of resistance and faith. Sumayya bint Khayyat, another early convert, faced relentless persecution and ultimately became the first martyr of Islam alongside her husband Yasir. Their son, Ammar ibn Yasir, also endured severe torture but remained unwavering in his belief. These early acts of bravery and sacrifice strengthened the resolve of the Muslim community even as they faced increasing adversity. The protective measures of Abu Talib. Despite the growing animosity, Muhammad found unwavering support in his uncle Abu Talib, who, although not a Muslim, protected his nephew from the worst of the Quraysh's aggression. Abu Talib's status as a respected elder of the Quraysh provided a degree of security, allowing Muhammad to continue his mission. However, this protection came at a cost, as Abu Talib and his family faced social and economic boycotts. The boycott and the Year of Sorrow. In 616 CE, the Quraysh implemented a severe boycott against the Hashim clan, cutting off all social and economic ties in an attempt to force them to withdraw their protection of Muhammad. For 3 years, the clan endured immense hardship, relying on limited resources and facing near starvation. Despite the suffering, the resolve of Muhammad and his followers did not waver, and the boycott was eventually lifted due to growing dissent within the Quraysh and the intervention of sympathetic individuals. The year 619 CE, known as the Year of Sorrow, brought further trials for Muhammad. He faced the devastating loss of his beloved wife Khadija and his protective uncle Abu Talib in quick succession. These personal tragedies left Muhammad vulnerable and isolated, with the Quraysh intensifying their persecution. Despite these challenges, Muhammad's faith and commitment to his mission remained unshaken. Seeking new alliances, the journey to Taif. In search of new alliances and support, Muhammad traveled to the nearby town of Taif. However, his message was met with hostility, and he was driven out of the town by a mob, suffering physical abuse and humiliation. The rejection at Ta'if was a severe blow, but Muhammad's perseverance was evident in his prayer for mercy and guidance rather than vengeance for the people of Ta'if. The night journey and ascension. Amidst the growing challenges, Muhammad experienced one of the most significant spiritual events of his life, the Isra and Miraj. According to Islamic tradition, Muhammad was transported from the Kaaba in Mecca to the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem in a miraculous journey known as the Isra. From Jerusalem, he ascended to the heavens in the Miraj, where he encountered various prophets and ultimately stood in the presence of God. During this celestial journey, he received instructions regarding the 5 daily prayers, which became a central practice in Islam. This profound experience provided Muhammad with renewed strength and conviction, the first pledges of Aqaba. In the following years, Muhammad's message began to reach beyond Mecca, attracting individuals from other tribes. During the pilgrimage season of 620 and 621 CE, groups of men from Yathrib, later Medina, met with Muhammad and embraced Islam. These meetings, known as the first and second pledges of Aqaba, marked the beginning of a new phase in Muhammad's mission. The Yathrib converts pledged their loyalty and offered Muhammad and his followers a safe haven in their city. Preparation for migration, Hijra. As persecution in Mecca intensified, the Muslims sought permission to immigrate to Yathrib. Muhammad encouraged his followers to make the journey in small groups to avoid detection by the Quraysh. This migration, known as the Hijra, marked a significant turning point in Islamic history. In 622 CE, Muhammad himself, accompanied by his close companion Abu Bakr, undertook the perilous journey, narrowly escaping assassination attempts orchestrated by the Quraysh. The establishment of the Muslim community in Medina. Upon his arrival in Yathrib, Muhammad was greeted with enthusiasm and respect by the city's inhabitants. The name of the city was changed to Medina, Madinat al-Nabi, or the City of the Prophet. The Hijra marked the beginning of the Islamic calendar and the establishment of the first Muslim community under Muhammad's leadership. This new phase allowed for the consolidation of Islamic teachings and the creation of a cohesive, structured society based on the principles of justice, brotherhood, and faith. Chapter 2. The Meccan Period. 2.1. The Early Believers. The initial response. The early years of Muhammad's prophetic mission were marked by a period of secret propagation where he called people to Islam discreetly. The first individuals to embrace the new faith were those closest to him, who had witnessed his integrity and trusted his character. Khadija bint Khuwaylid, Muhammad's wife, was the first person to believe in his message. Her support was crucial during these early years, providing emotional and financial backing. As a wealthy and respected merchant, her conversion lent credibility to Muhammad's message and offered him a strong foundation of support. Ali ibn Abi Talib. Ali, Muhammad's young cousin, was the second person to accept Islam at the tender age of 10. Ali's early conversion demonstrated the appeal of Islam to both young and old. He remained a close confidant and a staunch supporter of Muhammad throughout his life, later becoming the 4th caliph of the Muslim community. Zayd ibn Haritha. Zayd ibn Haritha, a former slave adopted by Muhammad, was another early convert. His loyalty and devotion to Muhammad were unwavering, and his acceptance of Islam was a testament to the inclusive nature of the new faith, which transcended social and economic barriers. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. Abu Bakr, a prominent merchant and Muhammad's closest friend, embraced Islam shortly after Khadija and Ali. Known for his gentle and kind nature, Abu Bakr played a pivotal role in spreading the message of Islam. His conversion led to several other notable individuals accepting Islam, as his reputation for honesty and integrity influenced many in Mecca. Early converts and their contributions. The early Muslim community, though small, was diverse and dedicated. Among the early converts were Uthman ibn Affan, a wealthy merchant who later became the third caliph. His generosity and dedication were instrumental in the early growth of the Muslim community. Abdur Rahman ibn Auf, another wealthy merchant whose business acumen and financial support were crucial for the fledgling Muslim community. Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, known for his bravery, Sa'd was one of the 10 companions promised paradise by Muhammad. He played a significant role in the military campaigns that followed. Bilal ibn Rabah, an Ethiopian slave who endured severe torture for his faith. His steadfastness and his beautiful voice as the first muezzin, caller to prayer, left a lasting legacy. These early converts laid the foundation for the Muslim community, their unwavering faith and dedication setting an example for future generations. 2.2 Persecution and Hardship. As the message of Islam began to spread, it inevitably attracted the ire of the Quraysh, the dominant tribe in Mecca. The Quraysh were vested in the idol worship at the Kaaba, which was a significant source of their economic and social power. Muhammad's message posed a direct threat to their authority and way of life. The reaction of the Quraysh. The Quraysh initially responded to Muhammad's message with ridicule and disbelief. They mocked him and accused him of being a poet, a magician, or someone possessed. However, as the number of converts grew, their tactics shifted from mockery to more aggressive forms of opposition. Economic and social boycotts. The Quraysh implemented various strategies to stifle the spread of Islam. They imposed economic and social boycotts on the Muslims and their supporters. This included banning trade and marriages with members of the Hashim clan, which supported Muhammad. The boycott led to significant hardship, with the Muslims facing severe shortages of food and resources, torture and martyrdom. The persecution extended beyond social and economic measures to physical torture and violence. Slaves and those without tribal protection bore the brunt of this cruelty. Notable examples include Bilal ibn Rabah. Bilal's owner, Umayyah ibn Khalaf, subjected him to brutal torture, including dragging him across the hot desert and placing heavy rocks on his chest. Despite the agony, Bilal's faith remained unshaken, and his repeated cry of Ahad, Ahad, one, became a symbol of steadfastness. Sumayya bint Hayat. Sumayya, an elderly woman, became the first martyr of Islam when she was killed by Abu Jahl for her refusal to renounce her faith. Her husband, Yasir, also faced relentless persecution, ultimately dying from the torture inflicted upon him. Ammar ibn Yasir. Sumayya and Yasir's son Ammar was forced to endure severe torture. Though he was compelled to utter words against Islam under duress, his heart remained true to his faith, and he was reassured by Muhammad that his forced words did not invalidate his belief. Muhammad's personal suffering. The Prophet Muhammad himself was not immune to the persecution. He faced constant harassment, verbal abuse, and attempts on his life. On one occasion, as he prayed near the Kaaba, the Quraysh placed the entrails of a slaughtered animal on his back. Despite these affronts, Muhammad's patience and resolve never wavered, and he continued to preach the message of Islam with unwavering determination. The protective measures of Abu Talib. Despite the growing animosity, Muhammad found unwavering support in his uncle Abu Talib, who, although not a Muslim, protected his nephew from the worst of the Quraysh's aggression. Abu Talib's status as a respected elder of the Quraysh provided a degree of security, allowing Muhammad to continue his mission. However, this protection came at a cost, as Abu Talib and his family faced social and economic boycotts. The boycott and the Year of Sorrow. In 616 CE, the Quraysh implemented a severe boycott against the Hashim clan, cutting off all social and economic ties in an attempt to force them to withdraw their protection of Muhammad. For 3 years, the clan endured immense hardship, relying on limited resources and facing near starvation. Despite the suffering, the resolve of Muhammad and his followers did not waver, and the boycott was eventually lifted due to growing dissent within the Quraysh and the intervention of sympathetic individuals. The Year of Sorrow. The year 619 CE, known as the Year of Sorrow, brought further trials for Muhammad. He faced the devastating loss of his beloved wife Khadija and his protective uncle Abu Talib in quick succession. These personal tragedies left Muhammad vulnerable and isolated, with the Quraysh intensifying their persecution. Despite these challenges, Muhammad's faith and commitment to his mission remained unshaken. Seeking new alliances. The journey to Ta'if. In search of new alliances and support, Muhammad traveled to the nearby town of Ta'if. However, his message was met with hostility, and he was driven out of the town by a mob, suffering physical abuse and humiliation. The rejection at Ta'if was a severe blow, but Muhammad's perseverance was evident in his prayer for mercy and guidance rather than vengeance for the people of Ta'if. The night journey and ascension. Amidst the growing challenges, Muhammad experienced one of the most significant spiritual events of his life, the Isra and Mi'raj. According to Islamic tradition, Muhammad was transported from the Kaaba in Mecca to the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem in a miraculous journey known as the Isra. From Jerusalem, he ascended to the heavens in the Mi'raj, where he encountered various prophets and ultimately stood in the presence of God. During this celestial journey, he received instructions regarding the 5 daily prayers, which became a central practice in Islam. This profound experience provided Muhammad with renewed strength and conviction, the first pledges of Aqaba. In the following years, Muhammad's message began to reach beyond Mecca, attracting individuals from other tribes. During the pilgrimage season of 620 and 621 CE, groups of men from Yathrib, later Medina, met with Muhammad and embraced Islam. These meetings, known as the first and second pledges of Aqaba, marked the beginning of a new phase in Muhammad's mission. The Yathrib converts pledged their loyalty and offered Muhammad and his followers a safe haven in their city. Preparation for migration, Hijra. As persecution in Mecca intensified, the Muslims sought permission to immigrate to Yathrib. Muhammad encouraged his followers to make the journey in small groups to avoid detection by the Quraysh. This migration, known as the Hijra, marked a significant turning point in Islamic history. In 622 CE, Muhammad himself, accompanied by his close companion Abu Bakr, undertook the perilous journey, narrowly escaping assassination attempts orchestrated by the Quraysh. The establishment of the Muslim community in Medina. Upon his arrival in Yathrib, Muhammad was greeted with enthusiasm and respect by the city's inhabitants. The name of the city was changed to Medina, Madinat al-Nabi, or the City of the Prophet. The Hijra marked the beginning of the Islamic calendar and the establishment of the first Muslim community under Muhammad's leadership. This new phase allowed for the consolidation of Islamic teachings and the creation of a cohesive, structured society based on the principles of justice, brotherhood, and faith. Major revelations in Mecca. The revelations during the Meccan period, also known as the Meccan surahs, predominantly focused on establishing the core tenets of Islam. These surahs are characterized by their eloquent and poetic style, addressing themes of monotheism, the afterlife, and moral conduct. Some of the notable surahs include Surah Al-Fatiha, the opening, often referred to as the essence of the Quran. This short chapter encapsulates the fundamental beliefs in the oneness of God, His mercy and guidance. It is recited in every unit of the Muslim prayer, Salah. emphasizing its significance in daily worship. The chapter begins with a praise of God, the Lord of all worlds, and a declaration of His mercy and justice. It then seeks guidance on the straight path, highlighting the importance of following divine guidance. Surah Al-Ikhlas, the sincerity. This surah is a profound declaration of God's absolute oneness, negating any form of polytheism or association with God. The chapter is concise yet powerful, asserting that God is unique, eternal, and self-sufficient. It rejects any notion of God having offspring or being begotten, reinforcing the core principle of monotheism. This chapter serves as a clear and unequivocal statement of Islamic theology, emphasizing the purity of belief in one God. Surah Al-Kahf, the Cave. This surah contains stories of faith and perseverance, providing moral and spiritual lessons through the narratives of the people of the cave, Moses and Khidr, and Dhul-Qarnayn. The story of the people of the cave illustrates the theme of seeking refuge in God during times of persecution and hardship. The narrative of Moses and Khidr emphasizes the importance of patience and trust in God's wisdom, even when events seem inexplicable. The account of Dhul-Qarnayn highlights the responsibility of leadership and the importance of justice. These stories offer timeless lessons for believers, encouraging steadfastness, humility, and trust in divine guidance. Surah Al-An'am, the Cattle. This surah addresses the fundamental aspects of faith, emphasizing the oneness of God, the authenticity of the prophetic message, and the reality of the afterlife. It challenges the polytheistic beliefs of the Quraysh, calling for the rejection of idolatry and the worship of God alone. The chapter also discusses the signs of God in creation, encouraging reflection on the natural world as a means to recognize God's existence and power. Surah Al-A'raf, the Heights. This surah recounts the stories of various prophets, including Noah, Hud, Salih, Lot, and Shu'aib, highlighting their struggles and the responses of their communities. These narratives serve as reminders of the consequences of rejecting divine guidance and the rewards for those who remain steadfast in their faith. The chapter underscores the importance of adhering to God's commandments and the ultimate accountability in the hereafter. Surah Yunus, Jonah. This surah focuses on the themes of monotheism, prophethood, and the hereafter. It emphasizes God's mercy and the importance of repentance, using the story of the prophet Jonah as an example. The chapter also addresses the doubts and objections raised by the disbelievers, providing rational arguments and reminders of God's signs in the universe. Surah Hud. This surah elaborates on the stories of several prophets, including Noah, Hud, Salih, Abraham, Lot, and Shu'aib. These narratives illustrate the recurring themes of divine guidance, human resistance, and the ultimate triumph of truth. The chapter reinforces the need for patience and trust in God's plan, even in the face of adversity. Surah Yusuf, Joseph. Surah Yusuf recounts the story of the prophet Joseph, highlighting themes of patience, trust in God, and the eventual triumph of righteousness. The chapter is unique in its narrative style, presenting the story in a continuous, cohesive manner. The experiences of Joseph, from being betrayed by his brothers to his rise to power in Egypt, offer profound lessons in resilience, forgiveness, and divine wisdom. Surah Ar-Ra'd, the Thunder. Surah Ar-Ra'd emphasizes the power and majesty of God, using natural phenomena such as thunder and lightning as signs of His greatness. The chapter addresses the stubbornness of the disbelievers and their rejection of the prophetic message, while encouraging the believers to remain steadfast in their faith. Surah Ibrahim, Abraham. Surah Ibrahim focuses on the themes of gratitude and the consequences of disbelief. It recounts the story of the prophet Abraham and his prayers for his descendants. The chapter highlights the importance of recognizing God's blessings and being grateful for them while warning against the ingratitude and arrogance that lead to divine punishment. Surah An-Nahl, the bee. Surah An-Nahl discusses the signs of God's creation, including the bees, and emphasizes the importance of living in accordance with divine guidance. The chapter addresses the blessings and bounties provided by God, urging reflection and gratitude. It also highlights the responsibilities of believers to uphold justice, kindness, and integrity. Surah Al-Isra, the night journey. Surah Al-Isra, also known as Surah Bani Israel, recounts the Isra and Mi'raj, the miraculous night journey of Muhammad. The chapter addresses themes of monotheism, morality, and the hereafter. It emphasizes the importance of righteous conduct and the consequences of deviating from God's path. Surah Maryam, Mary. Surah Maryam focuses on the stories of the Prophet Zechariah, Mary, and Jesus, emphasizing the miraculous nature of their lives and the power of God's will. The chapter highlights the importance of faith, patience, and submission to God's plan. It also addresses the objections raised by the disbelievers and reaffirms the truth of the prophetic message. Surah Taha. Surah Taha recounts the story of Moses, emphasizing his mission to deliver the Israelites from oppression and Pharaoh's tyranny. The chapter highlights themes of faith, perseverance, and divine assistance. It also addresses the challenges faced by Muhammad and reassures him of God's support. Surah Al-Anbiya, the Prophets. Surah Al-Anbiya presents the stories of various prophets, including Abraham, Lot, Noah, David, Solomon, and Jonah. These narratives illustrate the recurring themes of divine guidance, human resistance, and the ultimate triumph of truth. The chapter reinforces the need for patience and trust in God's plan, even in the face of adversity. Surah Al-Hajj, the Pilgrimage. Surah Al-Hajj addresses the themes of monotheism, resurrection, and the rituals of pilgrimage. The chapter emphasizes the significance of the Hajj, the annual pilgrimage to Mecca, and its role in reinforcing the unity and devotion of the Muslim community. It also addresses the objections raised by the disbelievers and reaffirms the truth of the prophetic message. The structure and style of Meccan surahs. The Meccan surahs are characterized by their eloquent and poetic style, often employing vivid imagery and powerful language to convey their messages. These chapters are generally shorter and focus on themes of monotheism, the hereafter, and moral conduct. The rhetorical devices and literary techniques used in the Meccan surahs captivate the listener, drawing attention to the profound truths being conveyed. The role of revelation in strengthening the believers. The revelations received during the Meccan period served to strengthen the faith of the early Muslims, providing them with spiritual guidance and moral support. The stories of past prophets and their struggles reassured the believers that their trials were part of a greater divine plan. The emphasis on the hereafter and the promise of eternal reward for the righteous encouraged perseverance and dedication to the faith. Challenges in spreading the message. The early Muslims faced numerous challenges in spreading the message of Islam. The deeply entrenched polytheistic beliefs and the socio-economic interests tied to idol worship in Mecca posed significant obstacles. The Quraysh's opposition was fierce, employing tactics ranging from social ostracism and economic boycotts to physical torture and threats of violence. Despite these challenges, the early Muslims remained steadfast, drawing strength from the Quranic revelations and the leadership of Muhammad. The importance of community and brotherhood. The early Muslim community, though small, was marked by a strong sense of brotherhood and solidarity. The concept of Ummah, community, was central to their identity, fostering a sense of belonging and mutual support. This communal bond was strengthened by the shared hardships and the collective commitment to the message of Islam. The early Muslims supported one another in times of need, demonstrating the values of compassion, generosity, and selflessness that were central to their faith. The spiritual and moral development of the early Muslims. The revelations during the Meccan period played a crucial role in the spiritual and moral development of the early Muslims. The Quranic teachings emphasized the importance of personal integrity, compassion, and justice. The early Muslims were called to embody these values in their daily lives, setting an example for others. The emphasis on the hereafter and the accountability before God encouraged a sense of responsibility and mindfulness in their actions. The evolution of the prophetic mission. As the number of converts grew and the opposition from the Quraysh intensified, Muhammad's mission evolved. The early phase of secret propagation gradually transitioned to a more public and assertive call to Islam. The revelations provided guidance on navigating the challenges and adversities, offering strategies for resilience and perseverance. The stories of past prophets served as a source of inspiration, reminding the early Muslims that their struggles were part of a greater divine plan. The gradual revelation of the Quran. The Quran was revealed gradually over a period of 23 years, with the Meccan period marking the initial phase of this revelation. This gradual process allowed the early Muslims to internalize the teachings and implement them in their lives. The revelations were often context-specific, addressing the immediate needs and challenges faced by the community. This approach facilitated the spiritual and moral growth of the believers, preparing them for the establishment of a just and righteous society. Chapter 3. Migration and the MEDINAN period. 3.1. The Hijra. The situation in Mecca. By 622 CE, the situation for Muslims in Mecca had become increasingly untenable. The relentless persecution, social ostracism, and economic boycotts imposed by the Quraysh tribe had taken a severe toll on the Muslim community. The death of key figures like Khadija and Abu Talib left Muhammad without crucial support, making it clear that a new phase in the Islamic mission was necessary. The invitation from Yathrib. Yathrib, a city approximately 320 kilometers north of Mecca, had been plagued by long-standing tribal conflicts between its two main tribes, the Aws and the Khazraj. Seeking a resolution to their disputes, they turned to Muhammad, hoping his leadership could bring peace. In the years 620 and 621 CE, representatives from Yathrib met Muhammad during the pilgrimage season in Mecca. These meetings, known as the First and Second Pledges of Aqaba, resulted in a significant number of Yathrib inhabitants accepting Islam and pledging their support to Muhammad. Planning the migration. With the groundwork laid, Muhammad encouraged his followers to begin migrating to Yathrib in small groups, ensuring their movements remained undetected by the Quraysh. The migration, or Hijra, marked a pivotal turning point in Islamic history. The Muslims left Mecca stealthily, leaving behind their homes, possessions, and often their families. The journey of Muhammad and Abu Bakr. Muhammad and his close companion Abu Bakr planned their departure with great caution. On the night of their departure, they evaded the Quraysh's assassination plot and took refuge in the cave of Thawr, where they remained hidden for 3 days. The story of a spider spinning a web at the cave's entrance and a dove nesting there, making the Quraysh believe the cave was unoccupied, is a cherished narrative in Islamic tradition. After the danger passed, they embarked on the journey to Yathrib, enduring the harsh desert conditions. Arrival in Medina. Upon their arrival, the city of Yathrib welcomed Muhammad with open arms. The city's name was changed to Medina, short for Madinat al-Nabi, the city of the Prophet. The Hijra not only marked the establishment of the first Muslim community, but also the beginning of the Islamic calendar. 3.2. Building the Muslim Ummah. The Constitution of Medina. One of Muhammad's first actions in Medina was to establish a framework for governance that ensured peace and cooperation among the diverse inhabitants. The Constitution of Medina, also known as the Charter of Medina, was a pioneering document that outlined the rights and duties of all citizens, including Muslims, Jews, and other tribes. It emphasized mutual protection, religious freedom, and the resolution of disputes through arbitration. The bonds of brotherhood. To foster unity and support among the Muslim migrants, Muhajirun, and the native converts of Medina, Ansar, Muhammad established a system of brotherhood, Mu'aka. Each Muhajir was paired with an Ansar, creating a bond of mutual assistance and shared resources. This initiative significantly strengthened the sense of community and solidarity, ensuring that the new arrivals were integrated into the social fabric of Medina. Establishing the mosque. The construction of the Prophet's Mosque, Masjid an-Nabawi, was another significant step in consolidating the Muslim community. The mosque served not only as a place of worship, but also as a community center, a school, and a hub for social and political activities. It became the heart of the growing Muslim society, symbolizing the unity and collective spirit of the believers. Economic and social reforms. Muhammad implemented various economic and social reforms to address the needs of the community. He encouraged trade and fair business practices, emphasizing honesty and trustworthiness. The concept of zakat, charitable giving, was institutionalized, requiring Muslims to contribute a portion of their wealth to support the needy and vulnerable. This system of wealth redistribution aimed to reduce poverty and promote social justice, women's rights and social justice. The Quranic revelations in Medina addressed various aspects of family life, inheritance, and the rights and responsibilities of women. These teachings aimed to establish social justice and equity. Women were granted rights in marriage, divorce, and inheritance, which were revolutionary in the context of the time. The emphasis on moral conduct, compassion, and justice permeated the social fabric, fostering a sense of responsibility and care within the community. 3.3 Major Revelations in Medina. The Medinan period saw the revelation of surahs that dealt with practical aspects of life and governance. These revelations addressed community laws, social justice, warfare, ethics, and family life, providing a comprehensive guide for the nascent Muslim society. Surah Al-Baqarah, the cow. Surah Al-Baqarah, the longest surah in the Quran, covers a wide range of topics including faith, law, morality, and guidance for the Muslim community. It emphasizes the importance of unity, justice, and obedience to God. The surah includes the verse of the throne, Ayat al-Kursi, which highlights God's supreme power and knowledge. It also introduces the 5 pillars of Islam and outlines rules regarding fasting, charity, and pilgrimage. Surah An-Nisa, the women. Surah An-Nisa addresses issues related to family life, inheritance, and the rights and responsibilities of women, aiming to establish social justice and equity. It provides detailed guidance on marriage, divorce, and the treatment of orphans. The surah also discusses the ethical conduct of warfare and the importance of justice and fairness in resolving disputes. Surah Al-Ma'idah, the table spread. Surah Al-Ma'idah focuses on legal and ethical guidance, outlining dietary laws, the prohibition of certain practices, and the importance of fulfilling covenants. It emphasizes the sanctity of life and the necessity of upholding justice. The surah also addresses interfaith relations, encouraging respectful dialogue and cooperation with people of other faiths. Surah At-Tawbah, the repentance. Surah At-Tawbah addresses themes of repentance, accountability, and the importance of upholding one's commitments. It includes directives related to warfare and the treatment of non-Muslims, emphasizing the importance of justice and compassion. The surah also highlights the significance of repentance and seeking God's forgiveness. Surah Al-Anfal, the spoils of war. Surah Al-Anfal provides guidance on the conduct of warfare and the distribution of spoils. It emphasizes the importance of unity, discipline, and adherence to divine commandments in times of conflict. The surah also recounts the Battle of Badr, highlighting the role of divine assistance in the victory of the Muslim forces. Surah Al-Ahzab, the Confederates. Surah Al-Ahzab discusses the events surrounding the Battle of the Trench, Khandaq, and the alliances formed by the Quraysh and other tribes against the Muslims. It emphasizes the importance of trust in God and steadfastness in the face of adversity. The surah also addresses issues related to the Prophet's household and the conduct of Muslim women. Surah Al-Hujurat, the Rooms. Surah Al-Hujurat provides guidance on social etiquette, emphasizing the importance of respect, humility, and good conduct within the community. It addresses issues such as backbiting, suspicion, and the importance of resolving disputes amicably. The surah highlights the value of mutual respect and understanding in fostering a harmonious society. Surah Al-Mumtahina, she that is to be examined. Surah Al-Mumtahina addresses the treatment of women who migrate to the Muslim community and the importance of maintaining justice and fairness in all interactions. It emphasizes the significance of faith and the necessity of adhering to divine guidance in personal and communal matters. The role of revelation in community building. The revelations during the MEDINAN period provided the foundational principles for building a cohesive and just society. They addressed the immediate needs and challenges faced by the Muslim community, offering practical solutions and ethical guidelines. The emphasis on justice, compassion, and social responsibility permeated every aspect of life, shaping the community's values and conduct. Challenges and triumphs in Medina. The battles of Badr and Uhud. The establishment of the Muslim community in Medina did not go unchallenged. The Quraysh, determined to suppress the growing influence of Islam, launched several military campaigns against the Muslims. The Battle of Badr in 624 CE was a significant victory for the Muslims despite their smaller numbers. This battle reinforced the belief in divine assistance and boosted the morale of the Muslim community. The subsequent Battle of Uhud in 625 CE presented a more challenging scenario. The Muslims faced a setback due to strategic errors and disobedience, resulting in significant casualties. Despite the defeat, the battle served as a crucial learning experience, emphasizing the importance of discipline, unity, and adherence to divine guidance. The Battle of the Trench, Khandaq. In 627 CE, the Quraysh, along with various allied tribes, launched a massive assault on Medina, known as the Battle of the Trench, Khandaq. The Muslims, under the strategic guidance of Salman al-Farsi, dug a trench around the city, preventing the enemy forces from penetrating their defenses. The siege lasted for several weeks, but ended in the disarray and withdrawal of the Quraysh and their allies. This victory solidified the Muslim community's resilience and strategic acumen. The Treaty of Hudaybiyah. In 628 CE, Muhammad sought to perform the pilgrimage to Mecca, leading to the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, a significant diplomatic achievement. Although the treaty initially seemed to favor the Quraysh, it provided a period of peace that allowed for the expansion and consolidation of the Muslim community. The treaty also demonstrated the Prophet's commitment to peaceful resolution and strategic patience. The Conquest of Mecca. In 630 CE, the Quraysh violated the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, prompting Muhammad to march towards Mecca with a substantial force. The city surrendered without bloodshed, and Muhammad's entry into Mecca was marked by acts of mercy and forgiveness. He declared a general amnesty for his former persecutors and cleansed the Kaaba of idols, reinstating it as a center of monotheistic worship. This event marked the triumph of Islam in the Arabian Peninsula, as tribes from across the region began to embrace the new faith. The farewell pilgrimage and the Prophet's final sermon. In 632 CE, Muhammad performed his final pilgrimage, delivering a farewell sermon that encapsulated the core principles of Islam. In this sermon, he emphasized the equality of all believers, the sanctity of life and property, and the importance of adhering to the Quran and his Sunnah traditions. His message was a call for justice, compassion, and adherence to divine guidance. The Prophet's passing later that year marked the end of an era, but the foundations he laid continued to guide the Muslim community. Preservation and compilation of the Quran. The Quran was meticulously preserved during the Prophet's lifetime through memorization and written records. After his passing, the need for a compiled text became evident, especially during the Caliphate of Abu Bakr. The first compilation was undertaken by Zayd ibn Thabit, ensuring that the revelations were gathered in a single volume. During the Caliphate of Uthman, the Quran was standardized to prevent discrepancies in recitation. Copies were sent to various regions, ensuring a uniform text for all Muslims. This meticulous preservation process has resulted in the Quran being one of the most accurately preserved texts in history. Chapter 4. The Prophetic Struggle and Triumph. 4.1. The Battles and Treaties. The context of conflict. The establishment of the Muslim community in Medina brought not only new opportunities but also significant challenges. The Quraysh of Mecca, threatened by the growing influence of Islam, continued their efforts to undermine Muhammad's mission. The ensuing conflicts were not merely military engagements, but were deeply rooted in the ideological and socio-political landscape of 7th century Arabia. The Battle of Badr, background and build-up. The Battle of Badr, fought in 624 CE, was the first major military encounter between the Muslims and the Quraysh. It took place near the Wells of Badr, a key caravan route southwest of Medina. The immediate cause of the battle was a Muslim attempt to intercept a wealthy Meccan caravan returning from Syria, led by Abu Sufyan. This interception aimed to weaken the Quraysh economically and to compensate for the wealth the Muslims had left behind in Mecca. The clash. The Muslim army, consisting of approximately 313 men, faced a well-equipped Quraysh force of about 1,000. Despite their numerical inferiority, the Muslims were motivated by their faith and the promise of divine assistance. The battle began with traditional single combats where notable figures from both sides faced each other. The victory of Hamza ibn Abdul Muttalib, Ali ibn Abi Talib, and Ubaidah ibn al-Harith over their opponents boosted Muslim morale. Decisive victory. The battle culminated in a decisive Muslim victory, with the Quraysh suffering heavy losses, including key leaders like Abu Jahl and Umayyah ibn Khalaf. The Muslims captured significant booty and took several Quraysh prisoners. This victory was seen as a divine endorsement of Muhammad's mission and significantly boosted the morale and credibility of the Muslim community. The Battle of Uhud, prelude and preparation. Following their defeat at Badr, the Quraysh sought revenge and regrouped to launch a retaliatory attack on the Muslims in 625 CE. The Quraysh, led by Abu Sufyan, assembled an army of approximately 3,000 men and marched towards Medina. Muhammad, upon receiving intelligence about the advancing enemy, consulted with his companions. Despite his inclination to defend Medina from within, the majority opinion favored meeting the enemy in open battle outside the city. The battle ensues. The battle took place near Mount Uhud, a few miles north of Medina. Muhammad strategically positioned his troops with their backs to the mountain, protecting them from a rear attack. He placed a contingent of archers on a hill to protect the Muslim flanks and ordered them to hold their position regardless of the battle's outcome. Initially, the Muslims had the upper hand, but a critical lapse occurred when the archers, seeing the Quraysh retreat, abandoned their posts to collect booty. This breach allowed the Quraysh cavalry, led by Khalid ibn al-Walid, to launch a surprise attack from the rear, turning the tide of the battle. Muhammad was injured, and the Muslims suffered significant casualties, including the loss of prominent companions like Hamza ibn Abdul Muttalib. Aftermath and lessons. Despite the setback, the Battle of Uhud taught the Muslim community valuable lessons about discipline, unity, and obedience. It underscored the importance of adhering to strategic commands and highlighted the consequences of disobedience. The Quranic revelations that followed provided comfort and guidance, emphasizing perseverance and trust in divine wisdom. The Battle of the Trench, Khandak, the coalition and siege in 627 CE. The Quraysh, allied with several other tribes including the Banu Ghatafan and the Jewish tribe of Banu Nadir, launched a concerted effort to annihilate the Muslim community in Medina. This formidable coalition, numbering around 10,000, aimed to besiege and destroy the city. Facing this overwhelming threat, Muhammad and his companions devised a novel defensive strategy, digging a trench around the vulnerable parts of Medina. The idea of the trench was suggested by Salman al-Farsi, a Persian companion with experience in warfare tactics. The trench, combined with Medina's natural defenses, effectively halted the advance of the coalition forces, who were unaccustomed to this type of warfare. For several weeks, the besieging forces camped outside the trench, unable to breach the Muslim defenses. Divine intervention and victory. The siege took a toll on both sides, but the Muslims remained resolute. A combination of factors, including harsh weather conditions, internal dissension within the coalition, and strategic Muslim skirmishes, eventually forced the enemy to withdraw. The Battle of the Trench was a significant psychological victory for the Muslims, demonstrating their ability to withstand and repel a superior force through ingenuity and steadfastness. The Treaty of Hudaybiyah, the pilgrimage attempt in 628 CE. Muhammad decided to perform the Umrah pilgrimage to Mecca, signaling his intention for peaceful religious observance. Accompanied by around 1,400 Muslims, he set out towards Mecca unarmed and dressed in the simple garments of pilgrims. The Quraysh, alarmed by the approach of the Muslims, vowed to prevent them from entering the city. Negotiations and terms. The two sides met at Hudaybiyah, a location near Mecca, to negotiate. After lengthy and tense discussions, a treaty was concluded. The terms of the Treaty of Hudaybiyah included a 10-year truce between the Quraysh and the Muslims. The Muslims would return to Medina without performing the pilgrimage that year, but would be allowed to do so the following year. Any tribe wishing to ally with either party could do so freely. Muslim converts who fled to Medina without their guardian's permission would be returned to Mecca, but converts from Mecca to Medina would not be returned. Strategic and diplomatic victory. While the treaty initially seemed to favor the Quraysh, it provided a period of peace and stability that allowed Islam to spread without the threat of immediate conflict. It also demonstrated Muhammad's commitment to peaceful resolution and his strategic acumen. The period following the treaty saw a significant increase in conversions to Islam and the consolidation of the Muslim community's strength. 4.2. The Conquest of Mecca. Breaking the treaty in 630 CE. The Quraysh violated the Treaty of Hudaybiyah by attacking the Banu Khuza'ah, a tribe allied with the Muslims. Muhammad seized this breach as an opportunity to finally address the threat posed by the Quraysh. He mobilized a large force of around 10,000 Muslims and marched towards Mecca, ensuring that the city was surrounded. The peaceful conquest. The Quraysh, realizing their untenable position, opted for a peaceful surrender. Muhammad entered Mecca with minimal bloodshed, demonstrating mercy and clemency. He declared a general amnesty, sparing the lives of his former enemies and pardoning those who had opposed him. This act of forgiveness and magnanimity won the hearts of many Meccans, leading to mass conversions to Islam. Cleansing the Kaaba. One of Muhammad's first actions upon entering Mecca was to cleanse the Kaaba of its idols, restoring it as a center of monotheistic worship. The Kaaba, built by the Prophet Abraham and his son Ishmael, was rededicated to the worship of Allah alone. The conquest of Mecca marked the culmination of Muhammad's mission, solidifying Islam's dominance in the Arabian Peninsula. The farewell pilgrimage. Preparations for the pilgrimage in 632 CE. Muhammad, sensing the nearing end of his life, decided to perform the Hajj pilgrimage to Mecca, which would be his last. He invited Muslims from across Arabia to join him in this significant act of worship. Tens of thousands of Muslims gathered to accompany the Prophet on this pilgrimage, eager to learn from him and to participate in the rites. The rituals of Hajj. The pilgrimage involved the performance of various rites, including the circumambulation of the Kaaba, Tawaf, the standing at Arafat, Wukuf, the throwing of pebbles at the pillars representing Satan, Rami al-Jamarat, and the sacrifice of animals, Qurbani. Muhammad meticulously performed these rituals, ensuring that the correct practices were established for future generations. The farewell sermon, the location and attendees. On the 9th of Dhu al-Hijjah, the final month of the Islamic lunar calendar, Muhammad delivered his farewell sermon at Mount Arafat. The sermon, attended by an estimated 100,000 Muslims, encapsulated the essence of Islamic teachings and provided guidance for the community's future. Key messages. In his sermon, Muhammad emphasized several core principles: equality and brotherhood. He declared that all humans are equal regardless of race or ethnicity, stating, "All mankind is from Adam and Eve. An Arab has no superiority over a non-Arab, nor does a non-Arab have any superiority over an Arab. A white has no superiority over a black, nor does a black have any superiority over a white. None have superiority over another, except by piety and good action." Sanctity of life and property. He stressed the sanctity of life, property, and honor, likening their inviolability to the sanctity of the holy month and the holy city of Mecca. Women's rights. Muhammad emphasized the rights and fair treatment of women, urging men to treat their wives kindly and with respect. Adherence to the Quran and Sunnah. He instructed the Muslims to hold firmly to the Quran and his Sunnah traditions, ensuring that they remain guided in their faith and practice. Finality of his message. He proclaimed the completion of his prophetic mission, affirming that he had conveyed the message of Islam in its entirety. Completion and divine approval. The sermon concluded with the revelation of the verse, "This day I have perfected for you your religion and completed my favor upon you and have approved for you Islam as religion." Quran 5:3. This declaration marked the culmination of the prophetic mission, signifying the completeness and perfection of Islam. 5. The Quranic legacy. 5.1. Preservation and compilation efforts during the Prophet's lifetime. During Muhammad's lifetime, the Quran was preserved through both oral and written means. Many of his companions, known as Hafiz, memorized the Quran in its entirety. Additionally, scribes such as Zayd ibn Thabit recorded the revelations on various materials, including parchment, bones, and palm leaves. The Caliphate of Abu Bakr. After Muhammad's passing, the need for a compiled text became evident, especially following the Battle of Yamama, where many Hafiz were martyred. Caliph Abu Bakr, upon the advice of Umar ibn al-Khattab, commissioned Zayd ibn Thabit to collect and compile the Quranic revelations into a single volume. This compilation was safeguarded by the Caliph and later entrusted to Hafsa bint Umar, one of Muhammad's widows. Standardization under Uthman. During the caliphate of Uthman ibn Affan, the rapid expansion of the Muslim empire and the diversity of dialects necessitated a standardized text to prevent discrepancies in recitation. Uthman appointed a committee, led again by Zayd ibn Thabit, to produce copies of the compiled Quran in the Quraysh dialect. These copies were then distributed to major Islamic centers, ensuring uniformity and preserving the integrity of the Quranic text. The teachings and themes of the Quran. Core theological concepts. The Quran's teachings encompass theological, ethical, and legal dimensions. At its core, the Quran calls for the worship of one God, Tawheed, rejecting any form of polytheism or association with God. It emphasizes the importance of following the prophets who were sent to guide humanity. Ethical and moral teachings. The Quran promotes justice, compassion, and social responsibility. It condemns practices like usury, bribery, and oppression, while advocating for the rights of orphans, women, and the needy. The Quran also provides legal principles, covering aspects of family law, criminal justice, and economic transactions, aiming to create a just and balanced society. Legal and social guidance. The Quranic revelations offer comprehensive guidance on various aspects of life, including marriage, divorce, inheritance, and commerce. The emphasis on justice, fairness, and the welfare of the community forms the basis of Islamic law, Sharia. The principles outlined in the Quran aim to establish a just and equitable society where individuals uphold moral and ethical standards. The Quran in daily life. Recitation and memorization. The Quran plays a central role in the daily lives of Muslims. It is recited in daily prayers, salah, providing spiritual nourishment and a constant reminder of God's presence. The practice of memorizing the entire Quran, Hifz, is highly revered, and many Muslims strive to become Hafiz, preserving the Quran in their hearts. Guidance and reflection. Muslims turn to the Quran for guidance and inspiration, reflecting on its teachings to navigate the challenges of life. The Quran's emphasis on contemplation and understanding encourages believers to engage with its verses deeply and thoughtfully. Influence on art and culture. The Quran's influence extends beyond religious practices. It has inspired art, literature, and science within Islamic civilization. Calligraphy, a prominent art form, often features Quranic verses, reflecting the reverence for the divine text. The Quran's encouragement of learning and reflection also contributed to advancements in various fields during the Golden Age of Islam. The Quran's relevance. Today, the Quran's guidance remains relevant in addressing contemporary issues. Its principles of justice, equality, and stewardship of the earth provide a framework for tackling modern challenges such as human rights, gender equality, and environmental sustainability. The Quran's emphasis on knowledge and reason encourages Muslims to engage with the world thoughtfully and responsibly. Personal stories of transformation. The Quran has profoundly impacted individuals across different cultures and backgrounds. Stories of personal transformation highlight its universal message and its ability to inspire positive change. From scholars and thinkers who have dedicated their lives to studying the Quran to everyday believers who find solace and guidance in its verses, the Quran continues to touch hearts and minds. Global impact and interfaith dialogue. The Quran's influence extends beyond the Muslim world, contributing to global culture and interfaith dialogue. Its message of monotheism, moral conduct, and social justice resonates with people of various faiths. The Quran's principles have inspired movements for social reform, human rights, and peace-building, demonstrating its enduring relevance. The Quran remains a timeless guide, offering wisdom and direction to those who seek it. Its profound impact on individuals and societies underscores its divine origin and enduring relevance. Preservation and compilation efforts during the Prophet's lifetime. During the Prophet Muhammad's lifetime, the preservation of the Quran was a meticulous process. The revelations were received over a period of 23 years, beginning in 610 CE and concluding in 632 CE. These revelations were communicated orally to Muhammad by the angel Gabriel and were immediately committed to memory by the Prophet and his companions. This oral tradition of memorization, hifz, was a crucial aspect of Arab culture, where poetry and oral histories were commonly preserved through recitation, the role of scribes. In addition to memorization, the Prophet Muhammad employed scribes to record the revelations as they were received. Notable scribes included Zayd ibn Thabit, Ubay ibn Ka'b, and Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. These scribes wrote on various materials available at the time, such as parchment, bones, palm leaves, and leather. The Prophet would dictate the verses, ensuring they were accurately recorded and reviewed. This dual method of preservation, both oral and written, was instrumental in safeguarding the Quranic text. Compilation after the Prophet's death. The Caliphate of Abu Bakr. Following the death of the Prophet Muhammad in 632 CE, the Muslim community faced the challenge of preserving the Quran in a consolidated form. The Battle of Yamama, which took place during the Caliphate of Abu Bakr, resulted in the martyrdom of many Hafiz, memorizers of the Quran. This loss highlighted the urgency of compiling the Quran into a single authoritative text. Upon the advice of Umar ibn al-Khattab, Abu Bakr commissioned Zayd ibn Thabit to lead the effort of compiling the Quran. Zayd, known for his thorough knowledge and trusted position as a scribe, undertook the task with diligence. He meticulously collected all written fragments and cross-verified them with the memories of those who had memorized the Quran. This compilation resulted in a single cohesive manuscript that was entrusted to Abu Bakr and later to Umar and Hafsa bint Umar, one of the Prophet's widows. The standardization undertaken during the Caliphate of Uthman ibn Affan was necessitated by the rapid expansion of the Islamic Empire and the diversity of dialects to prevent discrepancies in recitation. Reports of variations in Quranic recitation among different regions raised concerns about the potential for division within the Muslim community. Uthman appointed a committee, once again led by Zayd, to produce standardized copies of the Quran in the Quraysh dialect, the dialect of the Prophet Muhammad. This involved gathering the original compilation and producing multiple copies. These copies were then sent to major Islamic centers such as Kufa, Basra, Damascus, and Mecca, along with a reciter to ensure correct pronunciation and recitation. The original manuscripts and all other variant texts were ordered to be destroyed to maintain uniformity. The Uthmanic Codex, the copies produced during Uthman's caliphate, known as the Uthmanic Codices, formed the basis of all subsequent Quranic manuscripts. The consistency of the text across these codices ensured that the Quran remained unchanged and accurately preserved through generations. The meticulous efforts of the early Muslims in preserving and standardizing the Quran have resulted in its unparalleled textual integrity. 5.2 The Quran's Teachings and Themes. Core theological concepts. Tawheed, monotheism. The central tenet of the Quran is Tawheed, the belief in the oneness of God. The Quran repeatedly emphasizes that there is no deity but Allah, who is unique, eternal, and incomparable. This concept rejects all forms of polytheism and idolatry. Verses such as Surah Al-Ikhlas 1:12 succinctly encapsulate this belief. Say, He is Allah, who is one. Allah, the eternal refuge. He neither begets nor is born, nor is there to him any equivalent. Prophethood and revelation. The Quran acknowledges a long line of prophets sent by God to guide humanity, including Adam, Noah, Abraham, Moses, and Jesus, culminating in Muhammad as the final prophet. The prophets are seen as bearers of divine revelation and exemplars of righteousness. The Quranic narrative places Muhammad in this continuum, confirming the messages of previous scriptures while providing final and comprehensive guidance. Akhira, the hereafter. The Quran places significant emphasis on the concept of the hereafter, detailing the resurrection, judgment, and the eternal fate of individuals based on their deeds. It describes vivid imagery of paradise, Jannah, and hell, Jahannam, encouraging believers to lead righteous lives in anticipation of divine judgment. Verses such as Surah Al-Infitar 82, 13, 14 state, "Indeed the righteous will be in pleasure, and indeed the wicked will be in hellfire." Ethical and moral teachings, justice and fairness. The Quran advocates for justice and fairness in all aspects of life, emphasizing the importance of upholding the rights of individuals and communities. Verses such as Surah An-Nisa 4:135 urge believers to stand firmly for justice. O you who have believed, be persistently standing firm in justice, witnesses for Allah, even if it be against yourselves or parents and relatives. Compassion and mercy. Compassion and mercy are recurring themes in the Quran, reflecting God's attributes as Ar-Rahman, the most merciful, and Ar-Rahim, the most compassionate. Believers are encouraged to embody these qualities in their interactions with others, particularly the weak and vulnerable. The Quran frequently mentions the importance of caring for orphans, the poor, and travelers. Honesty and integrity. The Quran underscores the importance of honesty and integrity in personal and professional conduct. It condemns deceit, fraud, and false testimony, urging believers to adhere to truthfulness and sincerity. Verses such as Surah Al-Ma'idah 5:8 state, O you who have believed, fear Allah and be with those who are truthful. Legal and social guidance. Family law. The Quran provides comprehensive guidance on family matters, including marriage, divorce, and inheritance. It emphasizes the importance of mutual respect and kindness between spouses and outlines the rights and responsibilities of each party. Verses such as Surah An-Nisa 4:34-35 highlight the significance of harmony and reconciliation in marital relationships. Economic transactions. The Quran offers detailed instructions on ethical economic practices, condemning usury, riba, and encouraging fair trade and commerce. It promotes charitable giving, zakat, as a means of wealth redistribution to support the needy and reduce poverty. Verses such as Surah Al-Baqarah 2:275 warn against the exploitation inherent in usurious practices. Those who consume interest cannot stand on the day of resurrection, except as one stands who is being beaten by Satan into insanity. Criminal justice. The Quran lays down principles for criminal justice, emphasizing proportionality, fairness, and the protection of individual rights. It outlines the penalties for various offenses, while also advocating for mercy and forgiveness. Verses such as Surah Al-Ma'idah 5:38 address the punishment for theft, balancing justice with compassion. 5.3 The Quran in daily life. Recitation and memorization. The practice of memorizing the entire Quran, known as hifz, is highly revered in the Muslim world. Those who achieve this are honored with the title Hafiz. The process of memorization involves rigorous repetition and recitation, often starting from a young age. This tradition not only preserves the Quranic text, but also fosters a deep spiritual connection with the words of God. Recitation in prayers. The Quran is central to the daily prayers, salah, performed by Muslims. Verses from the Quran are recited in each unit of prayer, providing spiritual nourishment and reinforcing the believer's connection with God. The recitation is performed in Arabic, maintaining the original language of revelation. Guidance and reflection. Muslims turn to the Quran for guidance and inspiration, reflecting on its teachings to navigate the challenges of life. The Quran encourages believers to contemplate its verses and seek deeper understanding, as highlighted in verses such as Surah Sad 38:29. This is a blessed book which we have revealed to you, O Muhammad, that they might reflect upon its verses and that those of understanding would be reminded. Study circles and tafsir. Study circles, halqa, and sessions of tafsir, Quranic exegesis, are common practices within the Muslim community. These gatherings provide opportunities to study and discuss the Quran's meanings and applications. Scholars and teachers offer interpretations that help contextualize the teachings for contemporary life, fostering a deeper understanding of the Quranic message. Influence on art and culture. Calligraphy and illumination. The Quran's profound influence extends to art and culture, particularly in the realms of calligraphy and illumination. The Quran's influence extends to the arts, particularly in the form of calligraphy and manuscript illumination. Islamic calligraphy, the artistic practice of writing Quranic verses, is revered for its beauty and precision. Manuscripts of the Quran are often adorned with intricate designs and gold leaf, reflecting the reverence for the sacred text. Architecture and design. Quranic verses are frequently inscribed on the walls of mosques and other Islamic architectural structures. These inscriptions serve both decorative and devotional purposes, reminding worshippers of the divine presence. The integration of Quranic calligraphy into architecture is a testament to the profound influence of the Quran on Islamic culture and aesthetics. Literature and poetry. The Quran has inspired a rich tradition of Islamic literature and poetry. Themes of divine love, spiritual reflection, and moral guidance permeate the works of poets and writers throughout Islamic history. The Quran's literary excellence and profound messages continue to inspire contemporary authors and poets. The Quran's relevance today, addressing contemporary issues, human rights and social justice. The Quran's principles of justice, equality, and compassion provide a framework for addressing contemporary issues such as human rights and social justice. The emphasis on the dignity and sanctity of human life underpins efforts to combat discrimination, oppression, and injustice in various forms. Gender equality. The Quran's teachings on the rights and responsibilities of women have significant implications for gender equality. While cultural practices have sometimes overshadowed these teachings, the Quran advocates for the fair treatment and empowerment of women, emphasizing their equal spiritual status and rights in marriage, inheritance, and social participation. Environmental stewardship. The Quran encourages responsible stewardship of the earth and its resources. Verses such as Surah Al-A'raf 7:31 advocate against wastefulness and emphasize the importance of moderation and sustainability. This guidance is increasingly relevant in addressing contemporary environmental challenges and promoting ecological balance. Encouragement of knowledge and reason. The Quran places a strong emphasis on the pursuit of knowledge and the use of reason. Verses such as Surah Al-Alaq 96:15 highlight the importance of reading, learning, and intellectual engagement. This encouragement has historically spurred advancements in various fields of knowledge and continues to inspire contemporary scientific and intellectual pursuits. Interpretative approaches. Traditional exegesis, tafsir. The interpretation and commentary on the Quran have a long and rich tradition. Classical scholars such as Ibn Kathir, al-Tabari, and al-Qurtubi produced comprehensive works that elucidate the meanings of Quranic verses, drawing on linguistic, historical, and contextual insights. These traditional interpretations remain foundational for understanding the Quran. Modern contextual readings. Contemporary scholars and thinkers have engaged in modern contextual readings of the Quran, seeking to apply its teachings to the current socio-political and cultural landscape. These approaches consider the historical context of revelation while exploring the relevance of Quranic principles to contemporary issues. This dynamic engagement ensures that the Quran continues to provide guidance for modern challenges. Personal stories of transformation, testimonials of faith. The Quran has profoundly impacted individuals across different cultures and backgrounds. Stories of personal transformation highlight its universal message and its ability to inspire positive change. Converts to Islam often recount how the Quran's teachings resonated with them, leading to profound spiritual and moral transformation. Scholars and thinkers. Many scholars and thinkers have dedicated their lives to studying the Quran, contributing to its understanding and dissemination. Their works and teachings continue to inspire new generations of Muslims and non-Muslims alike, fostering a deeper appreciation for the Quranic message. Everyday believers. For everyday believers, the Quran serves as a constant source of guidance, comfort, and inspiration. Whether facing personal challenges or seeking to improve their moral character, Muslims turn to the Quran for answers and support. The practice of reciting, reflecting on, and implementing its teachings is integral to their spiritual journey. Global impact and interfaith dialogue. The Quran's influence on global culture. The Quran's influence extends beyond the Muslim world, contributing to global culture and intellectual heritage. Its principles of monotheism, moral conduct, and social justice resonate with people of various faiths and philosophies. The Quran's literary excellence and profound messages have been acknowledged and appreciated by scholars and thinkers across different cultures. Interfaith dialogue and understanding. The Quran encourages respectful dialogue and mutual understanding between people of different faiths. Verses such as Surah Al-Baqarah 2:256 emphasize the importance of religious freedom and the principle of no compulsion in religion. This ethos has fostered interfaith dialogue and cooperation, promoting peace and understanding in diverse societies. Inspiring social reform. The Quran's principles have inspired movements for social reform, human rights, and peace-building. Its teachings on justice, compassion, and human dignity provide a foundation for advocating for the rights of marginalized and oppressed communities. The Quran's message of universal brotherhood and ethical conduct continues to inspire efforts towards creating a more just and equitable world. The enduring relevance of the Quran. The Quran remains a timeless guide, offering wisdom and direction to those who seek it. Its profound impact on individuals and societies underscores its divine origin and enduring relevance. As we conclude this journey through the Quran, we reflect on its ability to inspire, challenge, and guide humanity towards a path of righteousness and peace. The Quran's legacy is vast and multifaceted, encompassing its meticulous preservation, profound teachings, and enduring influence on art, culture, and society. It remains a beacon of guidance and inspiration, providing a comprehensive framework for ethical living and spiritual fulfillment. The Quran's relevance transcends time and place, continuing to shape the lives of millions of people around the world. Chapter 6. Reflections and Contemporary Relevance. 6.1. The Quran and Modern Challenges. Addressing contemporary issues, human rights and social justice. The Quran's principles of justice, equality, and compassion are highly relevant to contemporary discussions on human rights and social justice. The Quran emphasizes the intrinsic dignity and worth of every human being, as illustrated in Surah Al-Isra, 1770. And we have certainly honored the children of Adam and carried them on the land and sea and provided for them of the good things and preferred them over much of what we have created with definite preference. The Quran advocates for the protection of rights, including those of women, children, orphans, and the marginalized. The emphasis on justice and the imperative to stand against oppression resonate deeply with contemporary efforts to combat inequality and promote social justice. Gender equality. The Quran's teachings on the rights and responsibilities of women have significant implications for gender equality. While cultural practices in various societies have sometimes overshadowed these teachings, the Quran advocates for the fair treatment and empowerment of women. Key verses emphasize the spiritual equality of men and women and their mutual responsibilities. Surah An-Nisa 4:1 states, "O mankind, fear your Lord, who created you from one soul and created from it its mate and dispersed from both of them many men and women, and fear Allah, through whom you ask one another, and the wombs. Indeed, Allah is ever over you, an observer." This verse highlights the shared origin and equal spiritual status of men and women. The Quran also outlines the rights of women in marriage, divorce, and inheritance, promoting their social and economic independence. Environmental stewardship. The Quran encourages responsible stewardship of the earth and its resources. Verses such as Surah Al-Araf 7:31 advocate against wastefulness and emphasize the importance of moderation. O children of Adam, take your adornment at every masjid and eat and drink, but be not excessive. Indeed, he likes not those who commit excess. This guidance is increasingly relevant in addressing contemporary environmental challenges such as climate change, pollution, and resource depletion. The Quran's emphasis on balance and conservation promotes an ecological ethic that can inspire sustainable practices and policies. Encouragement of knowledge and reason. The Quran places a strong emphasis on the pursuit of knowledge and the use of reason. The first revelation, Surah Al-Alaq 96:115, underscores the importance of reading, learning, and intellectual engagement. Read in the name of your Lord who created man from a clinging substance. Read, and your Lord is the most generous, who taught by the pen, taught man that which he knew not. This emphasis has historically spurred advancements in various fields of knowledge, including science, medicine, philosophy, and the arts. The Quran encourages believers to seek knowledge, reflect on the natural world, and use reason to understand the signs of God. Interpretative approaches. Traditional exegesis. Tafsir. The interpretation and commentary on the Quran have a long and rich tradition. Classical scholars such as Ibn Kathir, Al-Tabari, and Al-Qurtubi produced comprehensive works that elucidate the meanings of Quranic verses, drawing on linguistic, historical, and contextual insights. These traditional interpretations remain foundational for understanding the Quran. Modern contextual readings. Contemporary scholars and thinkers have engaged in modern contextual readings of the Quran, seeking to apply its teachings to the current socio-political and cultural landscape. These approaches consider the historical context of revelation while exploring the relevance of Quranic principles to contemporary issues. This dynamic engagement ensures that the Quran continues to provide guidance for modern challenges. Reform and revival movements. Throughout Islamic history, various reform and revival movements have emerged, aiming to return to the original teachings of the Quran and the Prophet Muhammad while addressing contemporary issues. These movements often emphasize the principles of justice, equality, and social responsibility inherent in the Quran. They advocate for the reinterpretation of certain aspects of Islamic law to align with modern contexts, promoting a more progressive and inclusive understanding of Islam. Challenges and opportunities. Interpreting ethical and legal texts. One of the significant challenges in applying the Quran to modern contexts is interpreting its ethical and legal texts. The historical and cultural specificity of certain Quranic verses necessitates careful consideration to ensure their application aligns with contemporary values and norms. Scholars engage in ijtihad, independent reasoning, to navigate these complexities, seeking to reconcile traditional interpretations with modern realities. Balancing tradition and modernity. Balancing tradition and modernity is a continual challenge for Muslim communities. While the Quran provides timeless principles, the dynamic nature of human societies requires a flexible and context-sensitive approach to its application. This balance involves preserving the core values and teachings of Islam while adapting practices to meet the evolving needs and challenges of the modern world. 6.2 Personal Stories of Transformation. Testimonials of Faith. The Quran has profoundly impacted individuals across different cultures and backgrounds. Stories of personal transformation highlight its universal message and its ability to inspire positive change. Converts to Islam often recount how the Quran's teachings resonated with them, leading to profound spiritual and moral transformation. For instance, Malcolm X's journey to Islam illustrates the transformative power of the Quran. Initially, a member of the Nation of Islam, his pilgrimage to Mecca exposed him to the universal brotherhood of Muslims from diverse backgrounds. The Quran's message of equality and justice deeply resonated with him, leading to a significant shift in his worldview and activism. Scholars and thinkers. Many scholars and thinkers have dedicated their lives to studying the Quran, contributing to its understanding and dissemination. Their works and teachings continue to inspire new generations of Muslims and non-Muslims alike, fostering a deeper appreciation for the Quranic message. For example, Muhammad Iqbal, a philosopher and poet, drew inspiration from the Quran in his vision for a revitalized Islamic society. His writings emphasize the dynamic and progressive aspects of the Quran, advocating for spiritual and intellectual renewal within the Muslim world. Everyday believers. For everyday believers, the Quran serves as a constant source of guidance, comfort, and inspiration. Whether facing personal challenges or seeking to improve their moral character, Muslims turn to the Quran for answers and support. The practice of reciting, reflecting on, and implementing its teachings is integral to their spiritual journey. Anecdotes from individuals highlight the Quran's role in their lives. For instance, a student facing academic and personal stress might find solace and motivation in verses emphasizing patience and trust in God's plan, such as Surah Al-Baqarah 2:286. Allah does not burden a soul beyond that it can bear. 6.3 The global impact of the Quran. The Quran's influence on global culture. The Quran's influence extends beyond the Muslim world, contributing to global culture and intellectual heritage. Its principles of monotheism, moral conduct, and social justice resonate with people of various faiths and philosophies. The Quran's literary excellence and profound messages have been acknowledged and appreciated by scholars and thinkers across different cultures. Islamic civilization and the Golden Age. During the Islamic Golden Age, 8th to 14th centuries, the Quran inspired significant advancements in various fields, including science, medicine, mathematics, astronomy, literature, and philosophy. Scholars such as Al-Khwarizmi in mathematics, Ibn Sina in medicine, and Al-Farabi in philosophy drew upon Quranic principles to advance their respective fields, contributing to the global body of knowledge, interfaith dialogue and understanding. The Quran encourages respectful dialogue and mutual understanding between people of different faiths. Verses such as Surah Al-Baqarah 2256 emphasize the importance of religious freedom and the principle of no compulsion in religion. This ethos has fostered interfaith dialogue and cooperation, promoting peace and understanding in diverse societies. The role of interfaith initiatives. Various interfaith initiatives have emerged to promote dialogue and understanding between Muslims and adherents of other faiths. These efforts are grounded in Quranic principles of tolerance, respect, and shared humanity. Interfaith conferences, community projects, and academic collaborations aim to bridge gaps, dispel misconceptions, and foster harmonious coexistence. Inspiring social reform. The Quran's principles have inspired movements for social reform, human rights, and peace-building. Its teachings on justice, compassion, and human dignity provide a foundation for advocating for the rights of marginalized and oppressed communities. The Quran's message of universal brotherhood and ethical conduct continues to inspire efforts towards creating a more just and equitable world. Contemporary examples of social reform. The role of Muslim charitable organizations. Muslim charitable organizations, guided by Quranic principles of charity, zakat, and compassion, play a significant role in addressing social issues globally. Organizations such as Islamic Relief and the Aga Khan Development Network engage in humanitarian efforts, providing aid, education, and healthcare to vulnerable communities. Islamic finance and ethical banking. The principles of Islamic finance, rooted in Quranic teachings, offer an alternative ethical banking system that prohibits usury, riba, and promotes risk-sharing and social justice. Islamic financial institutions focus on equitable and sustainable economic practices, contributing to the broader movement for ethical finance. The Quran in the modern world. Digital Quran and technology. The advent of digital technology has revolutionized access to the Quran. Digital Quran apps, online tafsir resources, and virtual study circles have made it easier for individuals to engage with the Quran's teachings. These technological advancements have also facilitated the global dissemination of Quranic knowledge, enabling Muslims and non-Muslims alike to explore its message. The role of social media. Social media platforms have become powerful tools for sharing Quranic teachings and fostering community engagement. Influential scholars and thought leaders use these platforms to provide interpretations, answer questions, and inspire followers with Quranic wisdom. Social media also facilitates interfaith dialogue and cultural exchange, promoting a deeper understanding of the Quran's relevance in the modern world. The Quran and education. Quranic schools and institutes. Quranic schools and institutes around the world continue to play a crucial role in preserving and teaching the Quran. These institutions provide comprehensive education in Quranic studies, including memorization, recitation, and tafsir. They nurture a new generation of scholars and leaders who are well-versed in the Quran's teachings. Integration of Quranic ethics in curriculum. Efforts to integrate Quranic ethics into broader educational curricula emphasize the importance of moral and ethical development alongside academic achievement. This holistic approach to education aims to cultivate individuals who are not only knowledgeable but also compassionate, just, and responsible members of society. The Quran's future impact. Adapting to global changes. As the world continues to evolve, the Quran's timeless principles will remain relevant in addressing new challenges and opportunities. The ongoing efforts of scholars, thinkers, and community leaders to reinterpret and apply Quranic teachings in contemporary contexts will ensure that the Quran continues to guide and inspire future generations. Promoting peace and understanding. The Quran's message of peace, justice, and compassion holds significant potential for promoting global harmony and understanding. By fostering a deeper appreciation for the Quran's teachings and encouraging dialogue across cultural and religious boundaries, the Quran can contribute to a more peaceful and just world. The Quran's legacy. The Quran's legacy is vast and multifaceted, encompassing its meticulous preservation, profound teachings, and enduring influence on art, culture, and society. It remains a beacon of guidance and inspiration, providing a comprehensive framework for ethical living and spiritual fulfillment. The Quran's relevance transcends time and place, continuing to shape the lives of millions of people around the world. As we conclude this exploration of the Quran's contemporary relevance, we reflect on its ability to inspire, challenge, and guide humanity towards a path of righteousness and peace. The Quran's message, rooted in timeless principles and divine wisdom, offers a blueprint for addressing the complexities of modern life and building a better future for all.